our episode of Meet the Faculty. I am Robert Abukai, and I am here today with Jennifer Goltz-Taylor. Jennifer, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm great. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, I'm excited for you to be here as well. Let's just get right into this. I think what we want to know, first of all, is why are you a professor? What made you want to come into this academic sphere, teach? What drives you? What goals do you have for yourself as a professor? And what are some of your interests that you explore in your job?
Whew, those are good questions. Those are big questions. So I am a musician, a vocalist, and a bunch of other things as a musician. And it is often the case that musicians do a lot of teaching, either privately or in academia, alongside freelance work. It's vanishingly rare to find a musician who is only a musician, particularly in the kind of classical world. So, but it's just hard to make a living if you're not doing any teaching. And so in the beginning, like as a teenager, I was doing some teaching kind of on the side, and in college as well. I also did, and still do, music direction for musical theater and some stage direction too. And that involves some teaching as well. And so as I continued through my grad school years, teaching continued to be a big part of my life, and I became a better teacher, because you don't start out a good teacher, or maybe some people do, but I did not. I learned all of the things that, I knew the material, but like I learned how to be a good teacher all around, I think, and I hope. And and then as one continues through graduate school, and as you get closer to the end of what's offered, the PhD, it's, at least in music, you get closer to a kind of a point where your only options for work are, you're going to be a professor now. And happily, I really like it. But I did take some time off before I ended up at the RC. I took several years where I was just teaching privately, and really thought about, like, do I want to be a musician only, or am I interested in being a professor? Did I just fall into this, or do I care? And do I want to be a professor? And I really did miss it a lot. So when the opportunity at the RC presented itself, I leapt at it. And I'm so glad, because it is so deeply fulfilling for me. I think I'm a natural communicator. Whether or not I communicate well, I like to communicate. And so it's a good place for me. And I care about people. I want to help people. So I feel like I'm in the right place.
I guess, how has your experience with the RC been so far? What parts of it do you really like? And then how do you feel that your place in the RC has kind of changed you, or even changed the RC?
I love the RC. The RC is magic. As a kind of music thinker and doer, and I'm interested in theater as well, but like music and music performance, and music theory, which is what my PhD is in, and all of the things that come together to be kind of thinking and doing music. I'm interested in so many of them. It's kind of my way of approaching music is very multifaceted, and interlocking. So working in a place like the School of Music, for instance, or some other kind of conservatory, where it's all very sliced up, doesn't really suit me. I like a place where I can incorporate these multifaceted kind of, all of these facets, right? So the RC is a place where I can do that, just by its structure. I'm now teaching in the music area in the freshman year seminar, and I'm working with the theater department and the arts and ideas department. That is like a dream for me. It's wonderful. And so I'm very happy at the RC. I love the support between faculty. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I adore the students. The students have this I mean, every student is different. There is no kind of monolithic, like one student kind of way. But on the whole, what I've seen is that students have this depth of curiosity and an intensity of interest that is so inspiring and so great. And then there's the fact that there's such sophistication in their thinking already. And I am very lucky that I teach courses, and I think that pretty much all the courses at the RC are like this. I teach courses that people are like excited and interested in even before, like I teach about rock music. Who isn't interested in that? And if you're not, then you don't have to take my class. It's fantastic. So I don't have to sell the topic at the same time as I'm teaching it. And I have taught courses where I have to do that. And it is somewhat burdensome to have to like sell, like, not only do I need you to learn this, but I need you to care about it. My students come in already caring. And I think that's partially the RC and partially the topics that I teach. But I recognize that I am ludicrously lucky to get to teach at the RC and to teach the students who are students at the RC. It is magic, and it's awesome.
Yeah, and you did mention your first year seminar, revealing meaning in the music of rock, pop, and hip hop. So, what is this class? What are some of the topics, ideas, content that you explore? And I guess, what are the goals that you have for your students who enter this class, wanting to learn about music and how it fits into being a writer?
Yeah. So, I think there are two different kinds, but there's more. But for my purposes, answering this question, there are kind of two different kinds of writing classes, right? Some of them are really about the act of writing. And others are an opportunity to get better at writing by writing about a topic that is not writing itself, right? So you have you learn how to create an argument about this other topic, and so my class is like that. It is an opportunity to do a deep dive into thinking about the popular music that is very formative for many of us. And in fact, the music that we listen to as teenagers and young adults is the most formative music that we for throughout our entire lives. So the students who are coming in right fresh out of high school and right in the center of that time, the music that they're listening to now is the music that they are going to turn to probably for the rest of their lives. It's very formative in terms of identity and illuminating in terms of identity. So what I offer in the class is some sophistication, like about how to think about how music works for those people who don't have any training in music. I don't expect any students to be able to read music, and I don't teach how to read music in the class. But we talk about how music sort of fits together, and we don't have to talk about much because, frankly, rock music isn't all that intricate in the way it works in terms of kind of the music theory of it. Some of it is, but for our purposes, we don't have to go super in depth to really be able to get a lot of richness about how music is contributing to the meaning of a song. So we start a little bit before before rock music in kind of like the 1940s or even the 20s to sort of look at the way the recording business and Tin Pan Alley and stuff like that sort of set what's going to happen. And then we look at the trajectory of rock music. It's sort of chronological, but not entirely, because the two main threads in terms of like what we draw out of the music and how we look at it analytically and in context, we're looking at gender and sexuality. So we're looking at things that are coded masculine and feminine, and queer and straight. But we're also looking at actual performers and how their identities are constructed in the music and also just sort of in the discipline and in the industry. In addition, we're looking at the exploitation and marginalization of Black artists, which is linked, and which we see from before rock music starts, and it continues, and it's infuriating, and it's illuminating, and it, like racism in general, systemic racism, it changes its stripes, but it's always there. So that is also really fascinating. And by kind of anchoring all of the music that we look at in those two threads, we're able to really look at what's going on in the music industry. In terms of writing, they do reviews to punch up language. And then we do a personal essay, and we look at personal essays. And there's a little bit more space, and opportunities to connect emotionally, to really look at, like, what does music mean to you? And then analytical essays. And that's where the bulk of the work in the class is. And that's why I think it's such a perfect fit for the freshman year seminar. You learn to gather evidence that you're then going to deploy in an argument, that you're going to analyze and deploy to make an argument about the way you hear this music, a persuasive argument, right? And so the music becomes the material, or the stuff that we discuss in class, the analysis that we do in class, collaboratively, and then modeled by me sometimes. That becomes what the student is writing about. And you get better and better by listening to the feedback that I have, that your peers have in the class, and by doing revisions and seeing how your fellow students work. And through that process, you level up. It's just what you're writing about is music instead of something else. But I think it works really well. And what I've seen is that my students grow a ton as writers.